Today, our special guest is Mr. Gordon Criswell, and he is here today to talk about the 2020 census of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas. He is the Assistant County Administrator of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas. And Mr. Criswell, we're delighted to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Amid the COVID-19 crisis, and we are supporting local communities, and when we look at the essential challenges that we're all experiencing across the board in states and cities and towns across the country, we recognize that everybody is grappling with the fact of how do we remain connected and yet we're still apart, having to practice social distancing. And in the midst of COVID-19, there is something that I believe is getting lost in all of the media attention, and which it is important, it is critical, but there's another critical piece that's very important in this month of September, and that is 2020 census, particularly of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas. And so again, we're delighted to have our special guest, the Assistant County Administrator of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas. Evangelistic Center has committed itself to the community in many different ways, and we believe that our platform as a ministry in our community is a platform that we can use to get information, to get knowledge, and to empower the community to be stronger and even better and greater than what it is. So we came into 2020 this year with the mission to make it happen, make it matter, and give back. And we've certainly been doing that since we've come into 2020, unexpected of a pandemic that hit us, and yet it has still prompted us and propelled us even with a greater intensity to impact and serve our community. So I've asked the Assistant County Administrator of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, to come today to talk about the importance and the criticalness of 2020 census and why all residents of Wyandotte County need to complete the census. So thank you, Mr. Criswell, for coming. So would you tell us the purpose of the census?
Yes, sir. Thank you for inviting me. The purpose of the census is every 10 years by federal law, we have to count every resident in every community in all 50 states. And the reason for counting every resident is many of our federal appropriations that comes to the state, that comes to the county, is based on population. Many of the services that are provided to our residents is based on population if it's federal dollars. So it is to our community's advantage to make sure that we count all of our residents, because the census and the funding that comes from the population count impacts so many areas of our daily lives. You think about school lunches and reduce children who don't have food to eat. You think about services to seniors. You think about the economic development aspect of businesses looking at census data to see where they can relocate. So literally anything that touches your or our daily lives, the census has some impact. And so it is important, particularly in what we call our hard to count census tracts, which is basically the northeast part of our county and the southern part of our county, that we make sure that we count everyone, because if we miss those counts, we miss out on funding for the next 10 years.
Wow. So in that, the federal funding, what are some examples of federal funding based upon the census today?
So we're in the middle of a COVID pandemic. The Kansas Department of Health and Environment receives federal dollars from the CDC that comes to the state. It's based on population. So our county, based on our population, would get a portion of those federal funds to help public health. Not only as it relates to the pandemic, but things like STDs, things like maternal and child care health. We get grants through our public health department based on our population to assist our residents with critical services.
Wow. So how long does it take to complete the census questionnaire? I don't want anyone to think, well, I'm too busy, I don't have time to do that. we know it's important and it's
Yes.
very critical. So would you give them some idea of how long it would take for them just to complete the questionnaire?
That's a great question, and the answer is 10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay.
10 minutes.
Y'all got that? 10 minutes. Just take 10 minutes of your time
Yeah.
to make a difference if you are a citizen of Wyandotte County, to make it happen, make it matter, and give back
Yeah.
in those 10 minutes.
10 minutes and 10 questions.
Wow. If residents of Kansas City, Kansas are not counted, do we lose federal funding?
Yes, sir, we do.
Wow.
We lose, for every resident that we do not count over a 10-year period, we lose $56,000 per year for 10 years.
Wow.
So the federal census is really around $6 billion
Right,
that
right.
gets distributed to
Right.
all 50 states. So
Right.
when we don't get counted, we miss out on federal funds.
Wow. You know, I can remember back in the day when I was in grade school and middle school, my sisters and my older siblings would do census taking. And that's when they go from house to house, knocking on doors, filling out the questionnaire. That's before we had iPads
Yep.
or computers or anything of that nature, because even then, census were very important for the community. So someone may be asking now that they understand the importance of 2020 census. How can I do my part to complete the census? Can you tell them?
Well, by now, most of our residents should have received a paper questionnaire of the census that you can fill out and return. If you haven't done so, you can go on the census website, uscensus.gov, excuse me, put in your city and zip code, and the census will come up electronically. Or you can call the census at 844-330-2020, and someone can assist you over the phone with completing the census. Again, it's 10 questions, 10 minutes. We don't ask for social security number. We don't ask for bank accounts. Nothing intrusive. The other little tidbit I've learned about the census is the census data is kept under wraps for 50 years.
Wow.
So that when you give your information out, it is 50 years before you can do a request for public information to find out anything about the census. And that's by federal law.
I see.
I would say, Bishop, that between the census and voting, those are the two most important civic responsibilities we have as citizens and Americans in this country.
So Mr. Criswell, say if there is a younger person and they have maybe a grandparent or parent who is not computer savvy, does not have technology, can they help them with the census?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The other piece is many times we fail to count newborns. And
Okay,
we want
good point,
We
good
want to
point.
make sure that if there is a newborn that was born the first of the year, that person gets counted. But yes, if you need assistance, a family member can assist you. We are in literally the last 3 weeks of collecting census information. So you may see now, to your point, people with census bags coming and knocking on doors to residents who have not returned their census form.
So it's not a fraud if someone knocks on your door and they have a census badge. That is legal.
That is legal. They have to identify themselves. If you don't think they're legit, they are to give you a 1-800 number where you can call and verify that individual at your door is indeed a legitimate census taker.
One note, Mr. Criswell, is that I understand that many of census tracts, zip codes in the northeast part of our county are undercounted as opposed to the southern part. So would we encourage, if you are in Wyandotte County and particularly you have family members or people that you're caretakers of in the northeast area that may not have access to a computer or technology, that you take it upon yourself as a responsible citizen to help them get that
Absolutely.
information in.
Absolutely. Great point.
Good.
Yes.
And I understand that Wyandotte County is behind our neighboring counties in our resident response rates. And that's why we wanted to put this information out there so that Wyandotte County, and particularly if you're in the Northeast End or you know someone in the Northeast End, our ministry is located in the Northeast End. And we wanted to get this information to let you know, particularly in the Northeast End, how important it is.
That is absolutely correct. And we've teamed up our census team with a number of neighborhood groups that are doing food giveaways.
Mm-hmm.
And so while you are participating in receiving food from, say, harvesters,
Mm-hmm.
we'll have census people there at some of these events that if you haven't completed the census, you can complete the census while you're getting
Awesome.
assistance with food as well. So we're trying to go to those places where we know our residents are going to go.
Absolutely.
Because we don't have time anymore to go
Right.
and knock on door to door.
Right, right. Well, thank you, Mr. Criswell. And as he mentioned later, that it is true that data collected in 2020 census will decide the distribution of more than $6 billion in federal funds to Kansas and communities each year for things like infrastructure, as he pointed out, healthcare, education, and food assistance. So to the community, it is important that we all respond to shape the future of our community. Again, your information is safe, it is secure, it's 100% confidential, and it is sealed for at least 50 years. So if you haven't already done so, fill out 2020 Census questionnaire today. It is available online, and it only takes 5 to 10 minutes to complete. And again, the number that Mr. Criswell gave out, would you give that number again? And it's going to be on the screen as you're viewing this interview.
Yes, residents can call area code 844-330-2020. And if you have language issues, someone can assist you if you need specific languages to help you complete the census. You can call this number and someone who speaks your language can also help you with completing the 10 questions.
And when is the deadline, Mr.
The
Criswell?
deadline for completing the census is September 30th, 2020.
September 30th. Get it in before September 30th. Again, thank you for coming. Our
Thank you for
prayers and
inviting me.
blessings are with our city. Give our regards to Mayor and all of the staff that work hard to make Wyandotte County the great county that it is.
Thank you, and thank you for the work that you and your ministry is doing. Appreciate the opportunity to visit with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, till the next time, have a wonderful and blessed day.